on my desktop to make me feel better because they're just the best. We would also like to recognize Brian Oliver, Marcus Bridges, and Cecilia Nunez. While many were off campus safely at home, this team was working tirelessly, first to deep clean our campus and then later preparing it for the safe return of students, not missing a beat. I don't know that they took many days off at all since March 13th. I'm grateful to Marcus and Cecilia's teamwork to deep clean our classrooms and making sure that every single room had the PPE they needed for the safe response. And Miss Cecilia, who happens to live around the corner, is well known for not only driving by campus and calling me if there's anything suspicious at all hours, but also she treats us like family and does a lot of personal touches that seems to pop up all around campus with these little personalized gifts, and she really treats all of us like family, so we are really grateful to her. I do also want to give a very special thanks to Brian Oliver, who is our plant manager, not just for one, not two, not three, not even four, but 5 campuses as part of the Sequoia Union High School District. He always comes when we need something with a smile, such an awesome generosity of spirit. If you have not met Brian Oliver, you really should make time to meet this man because he's awesome. He even helped us when we had to go to Green Street because of all things, a power pole went down right as we're trying to repair the campus that supplies EPA with internet, phone, and power, right as we're trying to get started for back to school in April. And he went and opened up Green Street, made sure it was ready for us to transfer all of our students and staff on his day off right before a doctor's appointment. So we just want to appreciate Brian Oliver. He is awesome. And of course, our own team right there at EPAA, Marcus Bridges, and the Mama Cecilia Nunez. So thank you, yay. And last but not least, we are all here for one thing, and that is for the students. So I do want to share a couple pictures as I read off what I'm going to share about them. Hopefully you see it here, because I think a picture always says 1,000 words, and we definitely don't have that much time. So I want to make sure you get these 1,000 words. Finally, we want to give special recognition to our seniors working on their award-winning Compassion in the Community projects. This is the project that EPA was recognized for in 2018 as a Civic Learning Award of Distinction as part of the California Distinguished Schools program. It was a really incredible honor to be amongst the California Distinguished Schools for this great honor. We have students who have developed a wellness website. We have students who are, in this case, they're teaching art to the local elementary school. Some students who, in their wellness website, I should mention, are incorporating yoga, exercise, and meditation. We have another group that's actually working with the East Palo Alto City Council to make safer routes in the evenings for especially women to feel safe in our city. And so I appreciate the City of East Palo Alto's council members for participating. And that's just to name a few of the outstanding projects. And I think I jumped the gun. This is the students who are learning art thanks to our students. So this is one of their students engaged, and this is our wellness team. I also want a special shout out to Dr. Ryan Matlow, who helped this team get their website started. So these are just a few of the programs being implemented during this very challenging time. So we just wanted to give you some examples of what we call the Bulldog Way, and especially Bulldog Love and Bulldog Power is alive and well, even during an international pandemic. So I would like to take a moment to recognize Maria Angelina Martinez Mateo, Dulce Pacheco, Daisy Nava, Graciela Santa Cruz Medina, Cynthia Huerta, Michelle Palafox, Kimberly Valencia Avalos, Stacy Perez Jimenez, Jada Velasquez Medina, Roger Vasquez Murillo, Reina Portillo Ramirez, Maximilian Chavez, Nadia Gutierrez, Tamara Mendoza Ortiz, Yahaira Cruz, Cindy Raya, Maria Villalobos, Yareli Arteaga, Vanessa Bazan Garcia, Armando Jaimes, Alejandro Gonzalez Barron, Jose Hernandez Rico, Edgar Escatel, Jose Alcantar Garibo, Leonel Rivera Barrios, Daniel Vilmas Nolasco, and Angel Torres. Those are all of our students who went above and beyond to do a Compassion in the Community project. Students had a choice. They could do one that was more historical based, or they could do their own project. And these are the students who've chosen to do their own project. I wish we had more time so you could hear from them and help them decide on colleges. They're really wrestling. Should they go to Middlebury or should they go to Berkeley? And these kinds of tough questions that are at their feet right now, and I do not envy them. So thank you for taking a moment to hear about what's going on at EPAA. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. And it is so exciting to really see this range of community involvement projects that our students are involved in. And I've seen aspects of that all across the district, students stepping forward, but it's so much a part of the fabric of life at EPAA, and it's just really exciting. Very, very much thank you for that. Okay, that brings us along to our student trustee comments.
Thank you, President Sarver. So I would have loved to join you guys in person tonight, but unfortunately something came up, so I had to stay at home. But so I've actually been back to school now 4 days, and I can say it's been really fun. I know me and my friends and all my peers are super grateful for all the teachers and colleagues and administrators who made it possible. So there are some other exciting things. So the SAC is voting or is working to choose the new student trustee for next year. And we're also trying to plan some events to get the students to meet the new superintendent so they can help her, like, reorient her about the district and tell her some of the things they might want to see in the future. So yeah, definitely some interesting things happening before we wrap up the year.
Hi, Trustee Nori. This is Shanice. Are you joining one student trustee or two?
I think we still haven't fully decided that yet. I think, we might shoot for two because it's been fine this year to go to the meetings since they're mostly online, but it might be more convenient for people to like alternate. So we might do two trustees. I don't think we're fully decided yet.
Thank you.
And of course, I hate to add to the litany of praise that keeps coming onto you, Sathik, but I noticed your name among the list of National Merit Scholar winners that was published in the Mercury News the other day, and congratulations on yet another honor and another feather in your cap.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Comments from our SDTA and AFSCME representatives, and I believe we begin with Edith from SDTA this time.
See, we're testing you every time. I think you've noted that somewhere in writing so you can remember it. Because I didn't remember. We have, I think, like Southwick mentioned, our members have been very excited to be back around students and in their classrooms. I think the challenge of the current model is sitting with people, and they're not, they're really looking forward to when we can be more with students, when we're all out the other side of this, and being in a room but still across a screen from the students is just reinforcing that for our members, how much they've missed being with students and really being able to have that connection. SDTA has begun meetings with the district, or the district and SDTA have begun meetings together on bargaining for the health and safety for next fall, and looking at what that is going to look like. And we are encouraged that we'll be able to have a plan so everyone knows what they can plan for. And we've also continued to work with the benefits committee and look at options there. So we've definitely been keeping busy. And beyond that, our members want to thank the board and Superintendent Leach for agendizing the climate resolution on today's agenda. It was one that SDTA supported, and that, as we all know, we have a very active student group in favor of. And so we are very excited to see that that has made it to the agenda, and look forward to it being passed. Thank you.
Ms. Horton, do you have something to tell us about AFSCME?
I do. My voice is a little weak, so let me know. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'll make it brief. AFSCME is looking forward to the meet and greet with the new superintendent. I also want to congratulate the EPAA classified staff. Well done. EPAA is a small school and they have a lot of challenges. One of them is a combination of jobs being performed by staff. So I know that there's a lot of things we still need to iron out at EPAA, but I agree, they're rock stars. So way to go. And at our site, we're continuing our work on the equity and diversity. We're getting to a point where we're trying to work beneath scratching the surface, and we're finding a lot of pauses now with no clear direction. So we just want to make sure that we continue to push forward the equity and diversity. The larger group has done a tremendous job, and I know that each subcommittee has also put in a lot more work as well. So all that work, we'd like to see that come to fruition. And we also want to thank HR for going forward with our meet and greet. Our meet and confer. We were able to stop a few items to be placed before you that weren't ready to be reviewed by the board just yet. So we want to thank Jacqueline for stepping that back and allowing us the proper place to speak on that. And that is my report. Back to you.
Thank you. Okay, this brings us on to the correspondence and public comment. As usual, we have collected the major points from everything put into correspondence to the board. And that is there as an attachment. And let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And we have a list of 32 folks who have sent correspondence, and this will be that correspondence that relates to public comment and items that are not on the agenda. A comment was sent in about the superintendent's contract that was received after we started last week's meeting. Now, that should not include extra compensation following termination. A request that board meetings should be changed into parent discussion forums. And the Healthcare Academy team at Sequoia High School sent a note thanking the board for our continued support of this critical and excellent program. I will read the correspondence relates to COVID and the reopening plan agenda item. Okay. And with that, that brings us along to public comment. This period is for speakers wishing to address the board on matters not on the agenda. So in particular, anything relating to the COVID-19 update and reopening should be saved for that information item. And this should be for items not agendized this evening. I do see a couple of attendee hands up. And we can go ahead and take those two comments. Now, customarily, we allow 3 minutes for comments unless we expect them to exceed the aggregate 10 minutes. And I know Ms. Loazy is actually keeping track now of the people who had their hands up. I saw 2. And again, I want to make sure that that's all that we have in the line.
There are 3 now.
Okay. All right. We'll be looking for Abigail Corman, Susan Moore, and Carrie Sweetener to speak in this period of time. And if we could go ahead and unmute Ms. Corman, we'll start there.
Hi. As an English intensive and English language development teacher at a new site, I've been asking questions around equity to many people at my site and even to colleagues throughout the district to understand policies and systems currently in place. As I recognize, our district has many very complex issues and processes to address. These conversations have led to 2 places pretty consistently, and they've actually come to a dead end. This dead end is around the district EL master plan and also around our equity and diversity task force. And I've not heard either of these mentioned in the board meetings this semester. I'm wondering, what is the update on our district EL master plan? What's available on our district website was published in 2006 to 2007, and it still references the Casey 9 times on it, which we know no longer exists. And recent circumstances this past year have actually amplified, I feel, this need for a refocus. I'm wondering, when will the district EL master plan be added to the school board agenda? I'm also aware of the Equity and Diversity Task Force and DEI work that's been ongoing this year, and I'm very excited about. And I'm wondering when they will be added to the agenda to report on their findings, insights, and recommendations. For example, it seems there are some recommendations they made for professional development that would be very relevant as we move toward planning the amazing summer opportunities our district provides for teachers. Even Grace, actually, I feel, referenced this need and desire to hear more from the Equity and Diversity Task Force in her opening remarks today. With only 4 more board meetings left this year, I'd imagine there are a lot of things competing to be placed on the agenda, including summer school and mental health, which I've heard Trustee Stevenson mention quite a bit. But I'd just like to add, I'd hope both of these, the District EL Master Plan and the Equity and Diversity Task Force, are also included. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Moore, you're up next. Can we unmute Susan Moore?
Thank you. I think we're good. Thank you all. I think that you've all heard from myself as well as Carrie Sweetener regarding our concerns with the impact to our students through the pandemic and distance learning, and knowing and understanding a strong pathway to graduation, as well as their ability to continue to participate in athletics and extracurricular activities. So we had an opportunity to meet with Bonnie Hansen, who provided some great clarification, and we now understand that our current seniors are well covered and there's a strong plan for them and a good, strong pathway for graduation. So that leaves us with the over 1,000 students around through the district and a plan for them. Well, Bonnie also explained that there is legislation that is still waiting to get through the Senate. AB 104 allows for parents to have their students retained for the 2021-22 academic year. It allows them to ask for pass, no pass, and that secondary institutions must accept that, and also provides a pathway for those 3rd or 4th year students to get to graduation. We feel this is a really strong plan, and whether or not the California does determine that they would like to adopt this, that the SUHSD does adopt this plan and program. Our other interests are on-site summer school this year. We believe strongly that that's a real important focus for our kids to be successful in the coming school year, and that there is some consideration for athletic extracurricular activities and looking at grade point average as well as credit allowances, so that our student athletes and others that are involved in outside activities can continue to be engaged in school and have a place, a safe place to go and be involved in whatever high school they are in. So we very much appreciate your consideration and look forward to more information on these items.
Thank you. Our last speaker, can we unmute Carrie Sweetener?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Our involvement, Susan and I, working through Zoom, FaceTime, and recently in person with our distance learning tutoring center, gives us an immense appreciation for teachers, administrators, hard at work during this unprecedented time, and also provides us with a unique seat at the kitchen table while we work with these students as we experience their home life, their struggles, both academic and emotional. We see their family struggle and the juggling of having kids home when parents are working. Many of these kids are going to school over Zoom while taking care of siblings. Their inability to pass classes is not for lack of want or effort. They are having to be adults in this environment before their time. Sometimes Zoom is very intimidating for them, and I certainly understand being here at this meeting, my first time at a board meeting, it's a little nerve-wracking. I'd like to talk about summer school as your work providing credit recovery, and that pathway for success for these kids is so incredibly important, and an essential part of that plan involves summer and opportunities for these kids to catch up. You, out of everybody, is so well aware of the importance of getting these kids back on campus with teachers for summer school, and on that point, I have a recent story. One of the students I work with regularly, I call him a rock star because he shows up, he works hard, and he's dependable. There are always peaks and valleys with these kids we work with, but he shows up pretty consistently. But recently, there have been many more valleys than peaks, and I worry about him. He has to take summer school, and when I mentioned that summer school was looking to be online before some of these considerations, he looked like I had burst a balloon he was holding. He was defeated by the news and got very emotional. And he said, Mrs. Sweetener, I can't do that. I just can't do this anymore. We are so appreciative and feel the board's alignment on the importance of bringing students and teachers on campus for summer school. And we get it. It is going to be very challenging for you to make this happen. But we hope that you can dig deep, pull that rabbit out of a hat, and find a way to achieve this goal for our kids because they desperately need it. And to echo Susan, we also appreciate the efforts being made to provide accommodations for kids to be able to participate in extracurricular activities. You know more than we do the immensity of the psychological impact of this pandemic on our young adults. Last week, when I walked across campus after tutoring, I saw a lacrosse team practicing on one field. The cheerleaders were gleefully practicing routines on another. There was such joy in the air. It was palpable. It was hope and beautiful to see. Thank you for all of your extraordinary work in bringing these kids back to campus and helping them with these recovery efforts. They're depending on you. Thank you.
Thank you, President Sarver. That completes public comment on non-agenda items.
Thank you. Okay. This brings us to our information item for this evening, the COVID-19 update.
Great, thank you, President Sarver. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Oh, that's the wrong button. Okay. Move you guys over. Okay, let me There we go. Now I can see everybody. Okay, so good evening. Tonight we do bring you another update, more in an informational form with the new information from the last board meeting that has been brought to my attention through meetings at the county level, and then also just information from the state level. So usually this isn't a discussion item. Obviously, board can still ask questions and comments, but it's really under an information item, really to share this information before you. Okay, so I want to start off with fall 2021 planning. So the district is planning for a full return for this fall of 2021. That's an in-person instruction for 5 days a week with no asynchronous Wednesdays. So again, 5 days a week, no asynchronous Wednesdays. Think back to before COVID, what our instructional minutes look like, your old bell schedules, with the exception, I believe Carlmont is going through some bell changes related to block scheduling. But we will pick up where we left off, March of 2020. So currently there is no distance learning option. All distance learning regulations that the state has provided school districts sunset on June 30th. So for the next school year, if a family is interested in a distance learning option, they would apply through independent study, possibly homeschool, or choosing to enroll at a charter school would be the options for distance learning for the fall. Again, we will be back 5 full days, no asynchronous on Wednesday. With the knowledge that the health and safety requirements for fall could potentially be significantly different than what we are now. As we know, when we started this, it was 6 feet. Now we're at 3 feet. All protective measures, masks, increased ventilation, and the physical distancing at that time will still be applied to maintain, again, the safety and really focus on that herd immunity and getting our cases down so we can continue for in-person. So we have been conducting an audit at 3 feet to get an idea of what 3 feet would look like for us, although we do not know what the social distancing requirement would be in fall. So we have looked at all of our sites, currently finishing up looking at all of our sites and taking our most restrictive classrooms. This is the top level of the audit that we're doing. You know, we include the teaching wall, the 6-foot social distance from the teacher, again, to where the student desks are, allow for some casework and other common, also not so common furniture that sometimes are in teachers' rooms. So at high level look, first look at 3 feet, we should be able to accommodate all of our students. We will need to make some adjustments. The first go around is to look at the high numbers, and then the sites will dig in a little deeper. And then of course, our teachers will so fabulously come in and rearrange their rooms to make sure that we can accommodate all of our students, again, with that goal of everybody being back. So we do have these drawings set for different wings. I'm just giving you a sample of a small version of a Carlmont classroom so that you can get an idea of what staff has been working on. So as far as state and local guidelines, we hear so much through the media and news. You know, Newsom is announced that June 15th, his blueprint for a safer economy will be sunsetting. And sometimes that can be really confusing for all of us in the school districts and communicating with all of our stakeholders because it's unclear because the blueprint for safer economy does include school regulation. However, those regulations and guidance are not sunsetting. So what is sunsetting is the overall tier color system that we have become used to and that we've used to plan for. So school districts are still required to adhere to the local public health department guidelines and related to Cal OSHA. This can sometimes be problematic for us. Cal OSHA does not meet as frequently as the California Public Health Department and then obviously our local health department. So we are still bound by those regulations and guidelines and will be adhering to them. We have been, they did start to align January 1st, which made things a lot easier for us, and we'll continue to adhere to those as we move forward and into fall. So to provide a slight or a light summer school update, so we are working on course offerings for our selected students. We have expanded who we select as students that are able to attend summer school, also with the mind of enrichment as mentioned before, and what kind of activities we can have on campus. It is our goal to have as much of summer school on campus as possible. So also developed a summer school program for our ELD students at all 4 of our comprehensive school sites. Staffing, which was a concern, is not looking too bad going into early May. So Redwood, Tide, Woodside are all at 100%. EPAA, Carlmont, and Menlo Atherton are at 90 and Sequoia is at 50. So we are on to being fully staffed. A little concerned about the Sequoia number, but we'll make sure we get that up. The summer school principals are completing their master schedule and their course enrollments. Once they are completed, they work with the directors to survey our identified families to make sure that we are meeting all of our students' needs for, again, the in-person or online through Edgenuity and then also in-person teaching. Compass, which is a great program for our incoming 9th graders through our sites, is currently recruiting the eligible students based on assessment criteria. So summer school is definitely larger this year. In previous years, I would anticipate that over the next couple of years, we will have increased summer school to really try to hone in on some of this that we have lost this past year. So an update on vaccines. So overall, 65% of San Mateo County has been vaccinated. It is important to remember, as far as our staff comes, that we have staff from several different counties. But to give you kind of an insight of where San Mateo is, and also as we follow the color tier system as it still exists, 65% of residents of San Mateo County have been vaccinated. All of our staff has had an opportunity for vaccination, but we continue to provide further opportunities for staff to be vaccinated as needed. Our focus now has shifted with our community partners to assist in our students' opportunity for vaccination. This is very important for us to be able to partner. Schools are a centralized area where we can help our students with vaccinations and even possibly their parents. So some of the challenges related to some of these partnerships is that it's really like last minute notice. So I was informed last night, well into the evening, that there will be a vaccination clinic this weekend in East Palo Alto. However, I don't have the special codes. I don't have the flyers quite yet. So I have to get all of the logistics ready so that we can push out that information to our families. This will be the first go around with these partnerships and sharing this information for an opportunity for our students to be vaccinated. So we will definitely be communicating with our school sites and also our parent liaisons to help us get this information pushed out. But this is very exciting news. Currently, what's creating a little bit of a holdup is that Pfizer is the only vaccine that is approved for the 16 and up, right? So we need them along with Moderna to get that 12-year age and older. From the meetings that I have attended along with some of our fellow trustees, there is conversation that this can happen towards the end of May. So that is very exciting for us and really opens the door for all of our students to be vaccinated for the fall season. So I have had a couple inquiries and more is coming regarding the COVID dollars. So as far as the extended instructional learning grants that are currently offered, we have to adopt a plan no later than June 1st. And the allowable uses for this pot of money are listed before you. Again, it's really to focus on how we can tend to what we are referring to learning loss. We're still not, as educators, fully sold on that, how we're going to call it learning loss versus something else. But it's definitely a target of funds that we are focused on to make sure that we create that opportunity for both teachers and students to be assessed in how we can go into the next year, especially with our courses that build upon each other. So there will be more information to come on this. This is, again, just one pot of money of many related to COVID. Within a few weeks, when I present the budget, there'll be more information regarding all of our COVID funds, our expenditures, what we have received, and what is still coming to us. And then it will also be placed on our website. So again, a reminder regarding the COVID superintendent office hours. I have a total of 3 remaining. We've had a pretty good showing at the one so far. It does give you an opportunity to have a dialogue with me, questions and answers related to reopening or really anything in general, since the board meetings aren't really set up for that type of dialogue. So I do have one, an English version with translation available tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So please feel free to join. And that concludes this. Questions, comments from the board? Carrie?
Okay. I was waiting for Ellen, sorry.
Yeah.
Ellen, is it okay if I go first?
Well, yeah. We do have a fair amount of correspondence and some attendees who want to make public comment. We could start with direct clarifying questions on the presentation.
Go ahead and do public comment first.
Okay. All right, let me go hopefully rather quickly through the correspondence. And again, this may address some of the things that various public comment might want to touch on. And these represent concepts that were presented in one or more of the emails that were sent to the board. By observation, there's plenty of room for all opt-in students to eat lunch on campus at the same time. Future agreements with the teachers union should be more flexible regarding changing pandemic conditions and health directives, such as 3-foot spacing. Sequoia District must be open for all students on campus all of the time in the fall. Sequoia Canyon should do more to accommodate more students more of the time on campus this spring, 4 days per week. Do not include an asynchronous day in the fall schedule. Restore the full basketball season. Parents are eager to help in any way we can, including providing supervision at games. Teacher attention must be split between students in class and those at home. The demographics of who is in class and who is at home reflect inequities in our community. We must not turn our attention away from those who are learning from home. The existing MOU already supports up to 50% of the total student body being in the classroom 4 days per week. Please implement the agreement fully. I hear many rumors that the superintendent and the board deny. Please pass resolutions to deny them again. Energy must be going into planning for full operation in the fall and not into making even more changes to get a few more days on campus for a few students in the spring. Thanks to the board for trying so hard to listen to all sides of contentious arguments and for seeking solutions that work best for all stakeholders. It's important that the board has recognized the rift in our community and intends to focus on healing. Parents are upset with the actions of the union, not with the teachers as people. Feedback from our children. The Roomers and Zoomers model is not better than staying home on Zoom. One teacher turned up the volume on her computer so everyone in the room could see the teacher live, interact live, and hear students from home through the teacher's computer. That was effective. Playing music together in band outdoors was the best experience of all. Please encourage teachers to be innovative and to improve on the Room and Zoom model. It is essential and appropriate that the Sequoia District leverage all of the innovation that has worked or shown promise during the pandemic so that the future of education is better than just a return to exactly the way we did things before. We need to focus on the details of how all students can fit on campus in the fall, whether there will be a 3-foot distance requirement, what we can do to ensure that all students are vaccinated, how we accommodate those who still require distance instruction, and how mental health needs will be addressed. There must be more transparency in negotiations between the district and the union. The district should require proof of vaccination for all students and staff once the vaccines are formally approved on a non-emergency status by the FDA. Okay, and with that, I see we have 2 attendees who have their hands up for comment. Once again, I ask that everybody who would like to make a comment on this topic, put your hands up and be prepared to comment right away. Let's see, I can't see it right now. Are there still 2?
We have 4 hands up now.
Okay. All right, well, let's take that list of 4 and go with them. And if you can keep it a little under 3 minutes, that would be helpful. But go ahead, please.
Okay, first speaker is Abigail Corman.
Hi again. First, I want to make sure to say that I appreciate you all, board, for meeting in person tonight to witness firsthand some of the many issues faced with the concurrent Roomer-Zoomer model. I'm wondering if anyone's using a school Chromebook and headset to make the experience even more authentic. I want to also appreciate the thorough COVID-19 presentation today. It actually did answer a lot of my questions. I have 2 left though. We just heard we're planning for 100% in the fall and a return to March 2020 scheduling. And also we may have to have the 3-foot distancing and masking procedures, whatever the county recommends. I'm wondering how that logistically is possible because I've been in many of our classrooms at multiple sites that I just know will not fit 100% of our students in the classrooms I've typically had in the past 10 years in this district of class sizes of 30 to 40 with our students at 3 feet apart. Did I hear correctly that 100% of the rooms will fit our students in pre-COVID scheduling models? Or are we thinking of decreasing class sizes? Because that would actually be better for instruction and safety procedures, and something I think we probably all could rally behind. So I'm interested on some clarity there, because I'm really interested to hear if really 100% of the rooms in all of our sites at our school will fit all of our students with this model for 100% back in the fall. And then I also appreciated the information about just one of the pots of COVID money, which I've been wondering about since we opened by April 5th. So we have access to this money from the state. And I appreciate the bullet pointed list of allowable uses for it. That really matters, right? So I'd be interested in finding out what the plan is for getting input from students and families, and in general, who's in charge of creating this plan. And this is actually just kind of in general, the question I've been having after coming to these board meetings pretty regularly this semester. Who exactly is making these policies? How frequently do they meet? That piece is just not transparent. And are stakeholders involved before the district makes a proposal? And if not, why not? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is the reopen parent.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, good evening. First of all, I wanted to thank Crystal Leach for that outstanding.
I'm sorry, can you say your name?
Oh, yes, Satiz. I wanted to thank Crystal for that presentation. This is exactly the type of communication that we have been asking for. I was literally clapping, geeking out, clapping when I saw that presentation. The topics covered, the depth, it was outstanding. Certainly the big miss was that the 3-foot capacity analysis that was done should have been done a couple months ago, but nevertheless, it was great to see. So thank you. So the reopen group, parent group, expressed a lot of concern about the lack of transparency when the board and union met behind closed doors 2 weeks ago without so much as letting the public know that these discussions were occurring before and after the last board meeting. We do greatly appreciate that the board published its position regarding full-time in fall on its website. So that's a very important first step. So wanted to acknowledge that it occurred and that it is much appreciated. Of course, it's just a first step. I also wanted to express my appreciation for all the teachers that have enthusiastically returned to school. I have heard nothing but great things from my freshmen. Many of the teachers have really engaged directly with the students that are in person. So just a big heartfelt thank you. And I hope certainly that we can continue to accommodate those teachers who have legitimate reasons for being unable to teach in person. That all said, I still feel, and maybe because I said that, it's an absolute shame that we have students who want to be in the classroom, who are sitting at home, zooming into the exact class for which they could be in person because we have the capacity, as the superintendent just showed. The obstacles of needing to reshuffle desks around and needing to do some administrative work and recoding, I'm sure it's painful and tedious, but they just do not rise to the level of the district providing in-person instruction to the greatest extent possible. It's really in-person instruction to the bare minimum amount possible. I also wanted to comment on a couple of things related that have come up, student vaccinations and some of the vaccination rates across the county. Student vaccinations should have no bearing whatsoever about anything related to in-person instruction, whether it be in the summer or the fall. The science and the math does not support it. Requiring student vaccinations. I'm certainly all for everything that the district and everybody else that wants to do to promote it and make these vaccination sites and capabilities known to students. Just don't want this to enter the conversation in any way, shape, or form as any form of requirement. And the topic of vaccination rates in East Palo Alto, I think vaccines are becoming widely available every day. It absolutely was not like this before, and it was definitely true that it wasn't. But if we look at where we are today, and Ravenswood Clinic in particular has been doing an outstanding job of running clinics both at their facilities and at other locations over the last couple of weeks at the Facebook campus. So I think we're really.
Okay, I'm sorry, the time was up. Our next speaker is Paige. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Paige Rachel Winnikoff.
Hi, thank you. On behalf of Reopen Parent Group, I want to thank you for hearing our message and making our efforts to address our concerns. Your public update was so good that I'm going to actually read it into the record tonight. We are thrilled to read it on the website, and I echo what Satish just said. Your update reads, on Thursday, April 22nd, the Sequoia District Teachers Association and the Sequoia Union High School District Bargaining Team met to begin negotiating the specifics of the fall 2021 reopening of schools. With the knowledge that health and safety requirements for the fall may be significantly different, the district proposed a plan that would return all students and staff to school full-time in the schedules that existed before the shift to distance learning occurred in March 2020. The plan calls for all protective measures, masks, increased ventilation, physical distancing to be maintained to the extent required by the San Mateo County Health Department. The district's proposal assumes a fully in-person model for all students. SDTA is preparing a written response to the district's proposal, which will be discussed at the next scheduled negotiation session on May 5th. This is great progress in transparency and toward the necessary full-time in-fall model we've been advocating for. As a group, we are absolutely delighted to read this on the website and thrilled that you've made this possible for our students. It sounds as though the SDTA is also in alignment with the plan, and we look forward to working with the board, district, and our community to see it come to fruition. Thank you, thank you, thank you on behalf of our group. We will do everything that we can to help you and to work together to make this happen. I also want to echo a couple of other concerns that people on all sides have mentioned tonight, which is that one of the things that might help us, there have been some maybe misguided or misunderstandings with regard to pandemic federal and state funding that's happened. People were not completely clear on where the money is going. And I'm not sure that it's a mistake or that it's intentionally being sent to different places. It's just not accounted for in a way that we can understand. Some more transparency would be greatly appreciated and would help lead to less confusion and less misunderstandings about where the money is going and how it can be used best. Thank you so much for all your hard work and for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you. Last speaker, we have Trisha Barr.
Hi, this is Trisha Barr, and I was also excited about what Crystal had shared today about the vaccination rates in our community. And I checked the dashboards today, and actually San Francisco and San Mateo counties both have 70% of our eligible residents have received their vaccines. Santa Clara County is just a little bit behind. I did also want to acknowledge that the vaccination rates in some communities is lower than others. So I think it's important for all of us to get the word out to close that gap, because it's not about access anymore. I think it's becoming more about education and awareness. Several of us have volunteered at vax clinics and have been getting the word out about vaccines. I'm just one person, and I've been posting on Nextdoor about places for people to get vaccines and have offered to help those who need help finding vaccines. I've also connected with the person who runs the EPA Facebook group with 7,000 followers, and he's been getting the word out about vaccine clinics open to residents in East Palo Alto, Bellhaven, and North Fair Oaks. Or he's been getting the word out to East Palo Alto, obviously, but then we're also, as parents and as community members, trying to get the word out to other communities. And kind of on that, there is a COVID community virtual town hall taking place tomorrow through Stanford. And there's the East Palo Alto, one of the East Palo Alto City Council members is part of that as well. A parent physician connected us with the Stanford Community Outreach Team, and we've been getting out the word about that on Nextdoor. I live in the Willows neighborhood, and my Nextdoor reach includes some of the areas in Bellhaven and East Palo Alto. And I'd be happy to send that information to the district if the district wants to help get the word out about this COVID community virtual town hall sponsored by Stanford tomorrow. It's tomorrow night. It kind of overlaps with Crystal's open hours. It's from 5 to 6:30 p.m. So, and again, I don't think that, I think vaccines shouldn't be a reason not to get in school. But it also, I think we all see the value of having our community more vaccinated. And so hopefully we're all part of getting the word out to vaccinate our community. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. And we have board members who have their hands up.
Alan, we actually have one public comment. We actually have a public comment from the panelists.
Okay. Yes. If Edith could, give us her public comment.
I wanted, again, to thank Crystal for the summary that we got in the COVID report. I think it's especially important to recognize that the district is looking at 100% in-person learning next year based on not offering a distance learning alternative to a large section of the student population because of the lack of current legislation in that area. And our SDTA and our members do have concerns about what that may mean if large numbers of our families continue to feel uncomfortable coming back on campus. And if they do, as Superintendent mentioned, as one of the options, seek distance learning in charter schools, what that will mean for staffing and availability of courses for our sites. And so we definitely want to work with the district and the parents who just commented on getting the word out to our communities the best way we can about what the situation is and what the level of safety will be in the fall when we know more about that. We have interest in what sort of outreach the district is planning, if any, at the end of this year to gauge where our community is at in those regards so that we know how big a group may still be out there and on the fence about their comfort level coming back. And I also wanted to share everybody's joy in the fact that we are moving forward in negotiations, and hopefully it is going to take much less time to work out the specifics of a plan for fall than it did for the return to in-person instruction in the spring. That SDTA, without bargaining in public, SDTA agrees with the parents who commented that we want to be in person 100% and not roomers and Zoomers. And that we need to recognize that it would not be possible to be moving this swiftly with those discussions had we not done all of the work last summer and this winter and spring, getting the specifics of health and safety in place, and without the incredible work of everybody involved to identify the areas that we may not have thought of that we need to bring up here. So we are looking forward to that, but we still have some concerns because we know that we've never heard from 100% of our community. And we remember that the LCAP survey, one of the options for families was, I don't want to come back until my whole family is vaccinated. And if you've got 0 to 16 to 15-year-olds in your family, that's not yet an option. And we don't know how those families feel about that still. Thank you.
Okay. Carrie.
So my question, Crystal, can you hear me? I have the same question that Edith had about independent study. So as long as I've been in this district, we have not had enough, seats for kids who have wanted independent study. And I'm also reminded about one of the letters that we received from a teacher, really stressing that there are some kids who did better with the distance learning model. And I'm also remembering Mary Dunn, our former independent study teacher. I spent a lot of time with her and met many of her students. So she had students with physical health issues. She had students with mental health issues. She had some kids who felt bullied at school. She had some teen moms. And often there were kids who could not get into independent study. So we may have a real growth in that area. So I really would like to be able to accommodate the kids who need that option.
Shanice?
Sorry, I thought Crystal was going to respond, so I was waiting. I have a couple questions regarding the report and some comments. Let me find them. So I wanted to talk about the no distance learning. And my question is the options to families, can people hear me? Okay, are options provided to families on the website of what their distance learning options are starting in the fall? Just because that may impact registration, how families reorganize themselves, and are we going to promote that? And then I also wonder, I thought California had a distance learning option at the state level. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe Edith can tell me. And how does that impact our bottom line? As far as if students take these other options, how does that impact us financially? So that is one of my questions. And I know that one of the charters reached out to me within our district. I think I CC'd you, Crystal, on that, and wondering if we partner with them as a viable option, would that eliminate us from having the financial impact, negative financial impact? So I have a question about that. And then also, were these available in the past? So I kind of what Carrie was saying around our independent program, I didn't know about it. So I'm like, how many people really know, like, was this an option before, these different options? And then I had another question. I think that's for a different comment. And then I want to know a little bit more about the pandemic funding. It's almost like we need a separate presentation about pandemic funding and all of it coming and what it looks like and how we've used it, how we plan on using it, and is there an engagement process where we can help determine what that looks like, especially for some of our populations, like these 1,000 students who are not doing well, which we haven't really focused on, and wanting to know more what they look like before the pandemic and what do they look like now. And can we think more innovatively about those kids and those families and really create a plan around that? I'm trying to see if I had any more questions. Hold on. Oh, this is the question. Do we know the number of people where distance learning worked well for them? and how it worked well for them. Because I do think we talk about a lot about what's not working, at least from my perspective, but I'm wondering about for those kids, what worked for them, for the ones who did really well. I think for right now, that's what I can read my handwriting with, and I may come back for more. Thank you.
Okay, Rich?
I just hear a lot of questions from my colleagues, and I think maybe a high level question for Crystal is whether this maybe make more sense to be like in the next board update, because there's a whole lot of questions that are things that maybe beyond what you prepared for today's presentation. So I don't know, maybe what you could comment on, just like what would be a good way to move forward. I know in particular for the money, you were thinking about something as part of our budget discussion that would include that. So that would be coming in a few weeks. And then on the other topics, whether it makes sense to address them now or just to address sort of when the, like a plan for what next steps might be, because it sounds like both Carrie and Shawnice had questions about, and there are some questions from Edith about what to do for students who, if there's more demand for distance learning than we had in the past, how might we handle that, if at all? And then there's some data requests in there as well. So I don't know what, maybe you can just, also a big picture, maybe not answering them all wouldn't be the right approach, but maybe just suggesting next steps is a maybe way to move forward.
I can do that.
I agree with that. Chris?
Maybe it was, well, my follow-up to that is, I hope we can tackle some of that in the agenda planning discussion at the end of the meeting, in addition to the communication that Crystal gets out to us. Other than that, I wanted to express gratitude to staff, to our interim superintendent and staff for moving this forward, and the SDTA for moving this forward very effectively, and for the clarity of the communication. I think it's crystal clear. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to echo a couple of the things that just went by. I think we've got kind of additional areas of greater detail that we've identified that we'll want to look forward to. And I don't think it's helpful to put you on the spot for them. I think you may have a chance to be going into some of those things in tomorrow evening's office hours anyhow. So that's something I'm looking forward to attending. And I also would like to thank not only Crystal and the staff for all of the hard work that's been going on, but all of the input and support we've gotten from our stakeholders in moving forward. Notably, I know there was some help in shaping and suggestions around the presentation that was so well received that came into us from community members, and that's greatly appreciated. And it was very rewarding to hear how well that was received. And certainly I felt that myself in going through the presentation. It was a really great communication structure and well done. So thank you for that. Shawnice, you have another contribution.
Yeah, it came back to me when you said office hours. I wanted to know a little bit more about how many people are showing up at your office hours, like total, like unduplicated numbers. And then by any chance, do you know what communities people come from? Because I know we serve like 9 communities. So I want to see, are those office hours being taken advantage of throughout our community, or just certain communities, or like, how is that working? Just wanted to know, just for community engagement purposes.
Okay, let's get some of these questions answered high level. Let's see, get this last one. Okay, so Carrie, we are looking to see how we can expand our independent study. It has always been a fairly popular program for us. So what can we offer? As of right now, we cannot offer any distance learning for next year. So our stakeholders can want, but if the state does not give us parameters outside of the independent study and current structures, we cannot offer distance learning next year. That's why they have these other avenues. There is a state online school. We do have charter schools. Oxford Day Academy has offered some spaces for our students who may wish to continue with distance learning. I don't feel like we have super accurate data as far as a survey on what's working for who and when we've done kind of those dipsticks before, it's always been so motivated around returning. I think that with that pressure on, that I'm not sure all of our families thinking about it long term really can answer if that would be the best direction for their student. But we know there's a need out there. And I think that the state knows that there's a need out there. And so they are working through that. But right now there is no legislation for us to be able to do that. As far as the bottom line for us, it does not affect any revenue that we have coming in. It potentially could, depending on what classification of a student we lose, but overall it would not affect our funding. However, for most of the state, it would affect their funding. So for most public schools that are funded from state aid and not the majority of property taxes like we are, if they lose a student to a charter school, their funding would decrease. So the state will need to look at that across all districts to see how we can keep all of our students in public school. So pandemic funding presentation, yes, there are, I don't know, 5, maybe 7 different pots of COVID dollars. So some which we got out of the CARES Act that we got in the fall that were brought to you via the same LCAP acronym, Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, back in September, and then additional funding both at the state and at the federal level. The funding that I had mentioned in the presentation requires basically like a mini LCAP to come along to explain what we're going to do with these funds. The board, when we had our retreat in January, chose a goal, right? With that, and we knew that this money was going to be coming and we would have to answer for it. So that LCAP goal, which is one of our 5 goals, really folds in to what this plan is. And so the stakeholder engagement that came around was really through the LCAP process, in addition to how we can use these funds over the next couple of years to make up for this year of transition from the pandemic. Let's see here. I think I addressed the attendance in the office hours. So the first office hours had a little over 400. And then it slowly decreased after that. That was like rapid fire questions, but we were able to get through them. The last office hours that we had, I think there was around 6 there. We are offering a special office hours to just our Spanish families, but we do have interpretation at the English ones as well. When parents are identifying themselves They are from all of our school sites, yeah, and throughout our community, for sure, both involved within some of our school sites, and then also parents where this is really their first time accessing information at a district level. So I do think that they have been helpful in getting information out there and clarification on many topics related to just education during the pandemic.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Shanice, do you have another comment, or is that a leftover hand? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. That was a wonderfully informative information item. And with that, I think we are ready to move on to our action item for the evening, which is adoption of a climate emergency declaration.
Okay, let me flip this item. Okay, all right. So we have back in January, seems like a year ago. Back in January, we had students come to us from a couple different of our school sites and really do activism related to climate change. And they did call an action of our board and of our district to pass a resolution ensuring that we understand how important climate is and what we can do to be a part of that solution. So Board of Trustees, tonight I present to you a board resolution and declaration for climate emergency that was generated and homegrown from our own students throughout our district.
Okay, do we have board comments, questions before we have a motion and action? I, for one, am, oh, there we go. Okay, Chris, why don't you go ahead?
There we go. Interestingly, so I like the resolution. We'll be happy to support it as is. Interestingly, the CSBA has also put out a model resolution. I've forgotten whether they actually take a stand on it, but I think they're encouraging districts to look at it. I compared this one with the CSBA version. I think the one put together by the students compares favorably with what the CSBA provided. The one thing I liked on the CSBA version that I'd like to recommend to my colleagues, if they're willing to endorse this resolution, is that we put in a clause that says we will review this within 12 to 18 months. And I can give you the CSBA language if you're interested in that. The value, Shanice, I didn't hear you except across the room. The value of that, I think, is it makes sure we don't just file away the resolution, that we're coming back and reviewing it. It puts a little more oomph in it. If
Carrie?
That's a good suggestion, Chris. I just want to say how proud I am of the students that worked on this. They worked very hard. They did a magnificent presentation to the board. And in the 9 years I've been here, I don't remember any student resolutions. This is the first one. I don't remember.
I hesitate to say that.
Yeah, I think, anyway, I think it's the first one. So I want to just share my appreciation for our students. Thank you.
Rich?
I'll just, I agree with it, but what my colleagues have said, and I'm happy to support this resolution.
Okay, great. All right, let me, okay, Shanice, and then I'll go in.
Yeah. I think that this is a really good idea. I know in East Palo Alto, Youth for Community Action, YUCA, as well as Nuestra Casa, has been working with youth to do climate change. So we do have some students who don't come to this meeting who have been very involved in climate change, and given our location in East Palo Alto and the impacts of climate change and sea rising and all that stuff, we are really concerned about this. So I would definitely be in support.
Alan, are you ready for a motion, or do you want?
No, we've got a couple more comments here. I would throw in, Chris, you shared the CSBA resolution with me early in the meeting. And I really did like that point about reviewing it within 12 to 18 months. There were
I'd be happy to read the text that they offer as a way so we can incorporate it immediately.
Yeah. And in addition, there were a couple of other items in there that talked about preparing our students for be part of the workforce in environmental efforts in the future as well, and environmental awareness as part of our curriculum. And I think that's also valuable to consider incorporating, or at least to plan on including in one of the future reviews. So I'll return it to you to read those couple of relevant sections for us.
Well, what if we do this? I'll read, because I've got the text in front of me, the part of the resolution I mentioned, and you could read the other, which I think also makes sense. Here's the text: that the board recommend that the provisions of this resolution be reviewed within 12 to 18 months of the date it is passed to evaluate the progress that Sequoia Union High School District has made in achieving the goals set forth herein, and to determine what additional steps should be taken to achieve and build on the goals outlined in this resolution. That sit well with all? Okay.
Yeah, good.
It's a good addition.
All right, and there are two other sections in here. Be it further resolved, the Sequoia Union High School District is committed to identifying opportunities within our curriculum and providing additional learning and leadership opportunities where possible that reflect our students' environmental goals for their civic lives and their academic and professional careers. And be it further resolved that the Sequoia Union High School District recognizes that there is an increasing demand for a skilled workforce in the clean energy and sustainability sectors, and that the Sequoia Union High School District can help meet this demand by providing enriched learning opportunities for our students to prepare for careers in these emerging and important fields. And I feel that both of those goals are very much consistent with not only the resolution that the students have helped bring before us, but the fact that they pursued their civic obligations and opportunities to make these steps. So I would like to see those two pieces of language included as well. And I know Chris agreed with that. How does that sit with the other board members? I'm seeing nods. Okay, so we have that language, which we can make sure we provide to staff. But I would then accept a motion for approval of this resolution.
Sort of procedural question.
Yes.
With all these edits, is it something that we can move and approve, or is it something that should be revised and brought back for approval? Because
when we've shared explicit language in the meeting, we have approved resolutions as amended in the past.
Okay. Yeah, I think, oops. I think we have, if anybody had concerns, we could put it into consent for the next meeting.
No, I don't have concerns about any of the things, just that it's not in final form.
Yep. It didn't bother me in this particular case because we were extracting the language directly from something CSBA had given us. Okay. I'd be happy to move approval of the resolution.
I second.
Okay, it is a resolution, and that is as amended by those 3 additional paragraphs. Ms. Loisy, can we have a roll call on the resolution?
Student trustee Nori. Trustee Thompson.
Yes.
Trustee Stevenson.
Yes.
Trustee Ginn.
Yes.
Vice President Dubois.
Yes.
President Sarver.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 5 yeas, 0 no's.
Thank you.
And can I get a copy of that CSBA version?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I can send it to you now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and that brings us to Board of Trustees and Superintendent's comments, committee reports, and agenda setting. Carrie.
We're ending so early. That means I can talk for a long time. Like, my colleagues don't like that idea. No. The first thing I wanted to share is I was invited to attend a virtual conference the last 2 days. It is a cannabis awareness and prevention conference. And, sometimes we get really busy and I wonder if I can do one more thing, and I wonder if I should do one more thing. But I went to this conference and it was just so inspiring to be with people from around the country who are very concerned about teen substance use and substance abuse. So one of the things, I don't know whether we should agendize this sometime, or Crystal, if I should just talk to you about this. I mean, sometimes when we're out in the community, I remember a board member that I really respected, Laura Rich, was a board member in the Menlo Park School District. And when I was thinking about running for school board, which was 15 years ago, I had a really inspirational lunch with her. And she said, the role of a school board member, often we're out in the community, right? And we're hearing things and we're attending conferences and we're talking to community members. And we get this information, but then bringing it back is sometimes hard. And I mean, her advice was you bring it back and you kind of throw it out there, and sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't. I think it's more challenging in our district. It really is challenging. And I want to thank you, because another great idea was peer court, which was brought to me. There are some people in the community very, very excited about this idea of bringing back peer court, but they actually want to try it in a school. So thank you. So I did take that to Crystal, and maybe there's a fit for that, maybe there isn't. But I just want to share, there are so many districts that are aggressively tackling teen substance use, the vaping issue, other illicit drugs. And so one of the things I was thinking about, and so many of the things that I heard at this conference, that when kids are caught, you don't want to suspend them. That is your opportunity. When they're caught with drugs, that is your opportunity to discipline in a teaching way, in a restorative way. And again, so many amazing examples that I heard the last 2 days. And again, I thought I was too busy to attend the conference. I did it yesterday and I thought too busy to do it today. I did it today. So the question for the board, what do I do? I mean, one thought is to look at our substance abuse policy. Like, what do we do right now when kids are caught with marijuana or other drugs? What do we do? Is that where I should start? Should we take a look at that policy and then have a discussion? Because I think it's critical that we as a board, I know we're doing a lot and everybody's tired, but there's a problem out there in our community. And not just with youth, but with adults and addiction. And we have an opportunity to do more now. So should I request that to look at our policy around, when kids are caught and what are we doing? And there could be, the other thing we talked about this conference, there could be more issues when kids come back after COVID, right? So I throw that out there as.
Also, I support having that as a discussion item of looking at a policy sometime what do you call it, Alan, the parking lot of ideas, but putting in if something does get scheduled as I think that's a good idea to have a discussion about our policies and practices, and then we can decide whether it makes sense to do something. Once we start with a discussion without an action plan, and it could be just us looking what is currently in place and discussing it.
Okay.
So I support that. I don't think it requires any work of staff. So I think with, maybe we even have more than 2 people anyway.
Yeah, I support that.
Yeah. And then the other thing I just wanted to talk about, I've been part of the social emotional learning task force. They're doing a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. I'm not always able to stay all day because it often starts at 8 and it's an all day task force. So sometimes I'm popping in and out, but I've just been so impressed by the work of our staff members. And today I paid attention to some questions that will be asked of staff on the Panorama survey. And I learned how tricky it is, Bonnie. I was thinking about you. Like sometimes when we throw out our ideas and we make our comments as board members, I have a lot of appreciation for how much thought and time is put into the questions. And thank you for all the work you do, Bonnie, continually as you survey our community. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to make a quick report on a meeting that I attended with Carrie and with Superintendent Leach with what's now called the Alameda Corridor Committee. It was formerly known as the Four Corners Group, but it's basically looking at the traffic patterns in front of Carmont High School along Alameda to Las Pulgas. And it's very exciting to me that some 5 years after a study phase was concluded with a lot of community involvement and traffic study and cooperation between the cities of Belmont and San Carlos and the Sequoia and San Carlos school districts, we are now returning to actually begin to try to operationalize the study and the recommendations that were done there and begin laying out design work for it. The 2 cities are taking the lead, but I know that Crystal is working with the engineering team and the traffic management team, I believe from Belmont, are taking the lead in that, to go and have a walkthrough of the area in front of Carmont, the proposed impacts on Carmont, and really begin thinking about what kind of workload will be ahead of the district as we look into actually putting some of that into effect. So I'm looking forward to more detailed work on that in support of the team. Okay, I see Shanice has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Carrie, for all that information around mental health. I did want to share that the Children's Health Leadership Collaborative really focuses on substance abuse, mental health, and also partnering with our feeder schools. They've expanded it from elementary. Can you guys hear me? Okay, and high school. So I wanted to let you know I've joined that. I know just because of my dual roles in many communities, but I would like to open that up to you to think about that, of what they're doing. So I will email you about that. I think, Crystal, for the next meeting, I forgot to ask you about this. Remember I sent you the Samtrans information. They're thinking about changing their routes. I don't know if you guys know that. I was like, Crystal, what is this? And how does this impact some of our kids who are trying to get to school? And that's really important. I don't want us to, I think everybody's trying to be innovative and redesign. And I just want to make sure, I don't know how our school, as a new person, how we're at the table. But that was the first thing that was a real red flag for me. And also I'm looking forward to the mental health team and equity supposed to be coming up in May and June. And I know someone in the community had questions about that. And then as far as I wanted to share some work that I personally am doing at outside of this. I'm so hot, you guys, sorry. It's called Families Together. It's the leaders, the parent coordinators and leaders at MA working together to kind of figure out how to engage families from all communities, because we feed probably from 3 or 4 communities at MA. And my hope is that we can do a lot of this at other schools as well. How do we engage families, not only in their own communities, like DLAC or whatever, but also bringing families across diversity. As we think about healing, we actually do need to be at the table. And I think one of the things I've been actually really impressed is the vulnerability of some of our families who are saying, you know, we heard you, we heard EPAA, we heard what one of our families said, I heard what you said, and they've been meeting with me personally, and just, I've been so impressed about how we actually want to work on the areas of commonality. And so my hope is that that will spread to other communities, even though that's not a board activity, but I thought I'd let you know. And then the last thing, or the second to last thing, is that I presented at the San Mateo County Youth Commission. We have actually 3 students who are commissioners. We have student trustee Nori. We have from MA, we have Christian, and you tell me if I'm saying this wrong, Amika, Christian Sagragia, I think is his name, and he's at EPAA. And then we have Noah Brunstein, who actually helped coordinate all the workshops. So we had parents from all different communities trying to help them get connected and so forth. So I did mine on social justice. And I just wanted to say thank you to Noah. I mean, he did an amazing job for a teenager. I was like, it was several workshops trying to get people to be there. So I know they'll have youth commission roles to fulfill. And so hopefully that will be interesting to some of our students. And then
Noah is from Carmont, right?
Noah's from Carmont. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. What did I say? You did. Oh, okay, great. I didn't say. At least I didn't say it and I got the wrong school. And then the last thing is really just to wish Laura Lyles happy Administrative Professional Day. I really appreciate her.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris.
We all appreciate you, Laura. Thank you. Thank you. In fact, we depend upon you.
Yes, we do.
Shawnee's, you mentioned in passing the Equity and Diversity Council that we met with this past week. I don't think we have a report or anything to share at this point, but I did want to comment. It's really an uplifting experience working, sitting in on the conversations with that group. They are so productive, efficient, and really thinking about many important things for the district. I did want to specifically ask whether that presentation is something's planned between now and June. I'm getting a head nod from the superintendent. Okay, so that's on deck. Also wanted to check, is there a session on the summer school plan that we'll see?
So we have presented on summer school, well, we've had some updates. So the next summer school presentation will most likely be after summer school with the results. If the board desires something different, we can talk about that.
Well, and you had some detail in your report today. I think I'd like to look at that again. I don't feel well briefed on it, but I should go back and notes, and maybe I'd have a follow-up conversation to it. Any colleagues have similar interest or? Yeah. Summer school?
Yeah.
I think Crystal, I think you're hearing from 3 of, is that, Bonnie?
So I'm so hurt that you guys don't remember my gorgeous flyer and my presentation on this.
Bonnie, it's not you, it's us.
It must be the 15-hour board meeting.
Yeah, can we blame it on COVID?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yes, you can.
Can we, let me go back and I'll review my material and send a note, and maybe the rest of the board can do that if they're interested. Is that fair to Shawnee's?
I will also put it in the Friday board update again, just in case you've got other things to do besides dig for my beautiful, shiny, full flyer.
Bonnie, so while you're on the line, there was also a question about updating the EL master plan. And anything, did you give that to us last week?
No, I definitely did not give it to you last week, and we're happy to do an update on the EL master plan whenever you would like.
Okay. So perhaps we can, is there shared interest in that from my colleagues?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Well, I guess I just asked, what is the standard cycle for reviewing an EL master plan? Is it something that, I assume, is it something that has a regular update cycle, or is it just when board asks for it is when it gets updated?
You know, I think it's, Bonnie will know more precisely than I, but I think we've generally seen that at least once a year in the past. Bonnie, is that correct?
You have definitely seen presentations about EL usually once a year. I don't know if we've specifically called it the EL master plan every time, but it's the same difference.
Yep.
Happy to do that. There are, I mean, as you guys know, there are our largest, most at-risk population. So I think it makes sense.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
It may be a question of what the best timing on that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, now between now and June is no longer a very large window. And it is a very densely packed window with a lot on the table for all of our staff. So we will look at that in our agenda planning and look forward. We may have actually some greater opportunities after the last day of school with only like budget approval and things on those meetings. Okay, if we've heard from everybody, I would be happy to entertain a motion.
It's so early.
Hey, Alan, is it possible I could say one thing? It's not about an agenda. It's not about the agenda.
I actually can't leave this early. It's too early. So, yes.
You feel too awake? I just want to take this moment just to share. There's been a lot of news that has been happening with George Floyd case and so forth. And I know we have mixed emotions about that, but I did want to acknowledge that I know that my daughter, held a social justice walk last year. A lot of the students have been thinking about how they can better their communities. We've actually had an increase of non-African American students join BSU. And there's been so much work around healing, which I think is positive for our community, that we're not sweeping things up under the carpet, that we're hopefully can move in a way not to just have angst around it, but really be at a place for healing and moving forward. And just want to acknowledge that some of our students and our staff and individuals are dealing with that accountability charge, and just wanted to just name that in the room. And I know that's on the heels of some of the AAPI work and acknowledgement that has been done. Matter of fact, we have students who have started organizations because of some of the work and some of the experiences that people have had. And so I just want to continue to put that at the front of us, that some of our students and families are still pondering what does that mean for their life. So just wanted to make sure I'm sensitive to that.
I really appreciate those comments. I think that this is probably both the most divisive and the most deeply engaged period of American history since the late 60s. And all of the movements and turmoil that era embodies. And it comes in conjunction with the pandemic era, which is the greatest global disruption since World War II. And it has provided an environment in which everybody is incredibly on edge, frustrated, angry, frightened, and yet finding resources within themselves to become productively engaged in trying to make the change and to be the change that we want to see. One of the things that we've talked about on the board is the need for healing and the need for partnership and moving forward. And I think we've seen a lot of things this evening in how our community stakeholders have really been coming together with us and helping the district to do more on these many fronts. And I do want to express how much the board is listening, is appreciating our public engagement, and how strongly everybody on our staff is working together to try to make change happen and improvement happen, and how much we need to remain dedicated to being open, to listening, to engaging, and really at this point transforming the face of education and transforming the future opportunities for our students. And your voice on this is a very welcome and important part of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That touched my soul. So, and I appreciate it. I'm not going to cry, but I'm there.
Okay, with that, I would welcome a motion to adjourn at a near record early time.
I'm just not used to this.
I move to adjourn.
I second. Carrie can stay if she wants.
I know.
Used to this. I mean, I'm used to 15 hours.
Okay, we will see everybody in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
thank you.
Bye.
Very efficient meeting. So